All right. Let me go ahead and put the image. So the image I'm analyzing is the wire script frame sculpture that I did a few weeks or months ago. Um, just interpreting this, it looks and appears like to me to be an elk. You can kind of tell based off that large body, the big antlers. That's something that's unique specifically to an elk type animal. It's not something you'd see on a deer or many other antlered animals. Um, and then same with going through just looking at the form that you can see in it. I would interpret this to be an elk, especially when you look at some of these other angles. They're very prominent elk, especially when they're bugling. And I think that's what was being gone for here is kind of that prominent bugling, going through the woods type um, form. And looking at different aspects of the art that were done here, I really like how you can see the space on the inside being taken up when this wire goes around, but obviously it looks like a solid line going through. Um, Another picture. I think this solid line work that was done looks really nice and clean. I think my favorite part about this is just how the antlers were done. It's nice when you see these lines and kind of creating the solid form and shape, but then the antlers do something completely different where it's you're trying to because antlers aren't. I mean, they can be big, but they don't necessarily take up prominent space compared to the body. So to kind of keep it really tight knit and linked to create these points of the antler, I think are really nice. And that's probably my favorite thing going into this. I think the shape that and form that was used is really well and accomplishes the job very well here. I think the other nice thing is when you look at this from different angles, it kind of you're still getting the same shape and form, but it's creating different interpretations, different ideas of what the elk may be doing. If it was obviously a real elk or what the art is going for here. Um, and I really like that. It wasn't just done solid, straightforward, and plain. It was done to create these angles and kind of like the elk's walking down through something. And I think that really adds kind of another element of the interpretation to it. And when you're looking at it, it just adds to that level. Personally speaking, I really like this piece. I think it's probably one of my favorite ones. Obviously, I know people can do more complex and go through things a lot harder and faster than I can, or what can be done here in this image. But I think this definitely accomplishes what the goal was. It's not a solid line or form that it's just plain, kind of two dimensional. It's 3D. It has that shape in between everything, and there's various things that are added into it that I think add to that level. So I personally really like this. Um, what else? Pull up another image here. Honestly, this is probably my favorite interpretation of it right here, because you're getting that definition of the volume and space it's taking up. In the previous one I had up, it does look 2D because you just can't tell. It looks flat. But here you can see the antlers going back. You can also see how the legs are in two different spots. It's not just one solid leg form. Um, and you can actually tell this is a 3D object made out of purely wire, which is pretty interesting and cool to look at, in my opinion. Um, and looking a little bit further into the body, you can see all these different lines and things taking up space to kind of create the solid, you know, and obviously in this, you're just creating a line that goes through that's going to kind of create this interpretation of what the line is. There's not a solid format in the center to create color or go further than that. And I think what this does really well is it helps link together that, there's stuff going on the inside. There's all the different lines that are being created, but you know, it's still just a line. It doesn't do anything else besides that. It helps show the volume, um, but I think it does well at showing the interpretation of what's being gone for. It's not just purely blank, empty space, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But there's other things going on in here besides just a line going around creating a shape, and that's it. And I think it does really well at creating that kind of inside volume, creating some interesting things to look at. Um, and adding a level of aspect that to this piece. Um, if there's anything else I really want to go over with this. So yeah, overall, I think this is a really nice piece. This is probably one of my favorite ones I did this semester. Um, and I just really working with wire is an interesting aspect in piece, and I think being able to create something like this is quite incredible. And just be able to see what volume you're able to take up the space, or you're able to do with the space in between the lines, and then creating these nifty little, you know, complex but not complex pieces, such as the antlers, where it's tightly woven together, going in and out, but it looks so plain and simple. So I think this is a really interesting, incredible piece, personally.